I don't browse/X/often, but I have some good stories to share with you. Tons of creepy stuff happens in the woods I live nearby. Story 1. B8. Exploring the woods alone with my dog one morning. Don't expect anybody to be back there, so dog is off leash and running around, sniffing, whatever dogs do. I'm just following trails set by other animals. Using a stick to clear spider webs in my way/suspicious looking plants, stuff like that. A creepy feeling gnaws at me the deeper I go into the woods. Hear what faintly sounds like a human screaming in the distance. Dog perks up and looks at where the scream came from too. It's coming from deep in the woods. I stand there unsure what to do, feeling overly confident. I decide to follow where the scream came from. First time I'm in the woods alone too. Dog just went back to sniffing and running around. After what feels like half an hour, I come across stuff that humans obviously left. A couch sitting in middle of nowhere. Broken bike hanging in a tree. Lots of beer bottles hanging around. Looks like some teen hideaway. Carefully walk around the beer bottles and avoid all of the crud laying around. After I walk a decent distance past it, I hear a scream behind me, where I came from. Realize dog has been gone for a while. Too scared to call my dog's name to draw attention to me, so I just stand there awkwardly looking for any signs of anything. Kind of crouch down and walk back. Still bright daylight, so I should be able to see anything off in the distance. 2 minutes later I hear heavy breathing. It's getting closer, and fast. Start freaking the fuck out, look around, swinging my stick like a maniac. Suddenly dog jogs out of bush, then past me. Bloody murder, thought some madman was about to kill me. Scold the dog silently. Realize dog shouldn't be going ahead of me, runs to grab dog's collar and put leash on. Continue my ninja walk towards where I thought the scream came from. Didn't see or hear anything after what feels like an hour and a half of searching. Walked back home, didn't tell my parents what I heard, cause they'd just freak out and not let me back in. Story 2. Maybe a year after last incident, so 9-ish at the time. Riding bike in the woods with my friend, morning again. Friend is easily scared, thinks there's snakes around every corner, poisonous spiders that'll hunt him down alive, etc. I calm him down and tell him I walked those trails 1,000 times, probably actually only 10 times. Find some trail that I never followed before. Now the creepy feeling's starting to build up on the back of my neck. Ignore it, keep going, I want to see where this trail goes. Friend complains it's creepy, trees, plants are all dead, etc. I tell him it's fucking fall, of course the trees are going to have no leaves and look dead. Actually fall only began, trees are only turning orange/red and most plants still have leaves. I'm getting scared myself, but nothing's happened yet and I wanna explore this new trail. Come across a cabin in the middle of a field of grass. Friend doesn't want to approach it, of course. I ignore him and walk boldly ahead. Actually knocked on the door. Nobody answers. I push open the door and I look back. Friend is gone. Hear a scream coming from the cabin. Run the fuck away. Look back, cabin door closed while I was looking. Didn't find my friend until next day at school. Story 3. This time it took place in night. I walk in the woods all the time with my dad, he loves nature. He wants to go again tonight. Both of us bring a flashlight and my dog. Dad is holding the leash instead of letting dog run around cause he doesn't want to lose the dog and have to look for it in the night. He finds the teen hangout spot with the couch and the bike hanging in the tree. Just keeps walking past it casually. Dog is obviously freaking out though. Whining, trying to pull Dad away. Dad and I keep looking around for whatever it could be that's freaking out the dog. Dog starts barking, we smack the dog to quiet it. Now I can smell wood burning. Asked Dad if he smells it too. He nods, but we don't see any fire. Figure maybe someone smoking or something, but it doesn't smell like that. Whatever, we keep walking cause no flame. I shine my flashlight around and see two glints appear midair off in the distance. Moved my flashlight back, it disappeared, but the bush around it is moving. Pull my dad's arms and whisper what I saw. He shines his flashlight at where I was looking. Doesn't see anything. Dog still refuses to calm down. Half an hour later we hear what sounds like wolves/coyotes howling. Wolves/coyotes are rare around here, but they do exist here. It's enough for my dad. We walk back home. Dog starts pulling ahead with all of his might. Slips out of Dad's hand. Dad and I scream for his name. Too late, he disappeared off in the darkness. We chase after it, calling its name. I look back behind me. I can see a dark shape disappear behind some tree in the moonlight. I look forward and keep running. Dog actually ran all the way back home. Story 4. By the way, this took place in early 1990s. Sorry I didn't have a camera back then. Didn't go in the woods for a while, sat around and played video games, ate, watched TV, typical Ameri-fat stuff. Decide to go again one day, probably 11 at the time. I remember that cabin in the woods. I asked my friend, a different friend, if he wants to check it out too. He brings his dog and I bring mine. Walking to where I think the cabin is. It's after school but we still have many hours of daylight left. We're just chatting away while our dogs chase and play with each other, run around sniffing etc. Dogs disappear after a few minutes. We call their names and they come back but then they jog away again, same direction. We follow, find a dead deer with an enormous gut cause of all of the maggots and juices in it, head is missing though. Poke it with stick, typical stuff kids do when they encounter death. Ignore and keep walking. Half an hour later we find another dead one. Again the head is missing. Joke with my friend that deer skulls are used for dark magic. Finally we find the cabin. We're staying off in the distance but in clearing and in clear view of cabin debating if we should go check it out or not. After a few minutes see a window curtain move and a shape looking back at us. Friend sees it too. Definitely has a hairy as fuck mask, actually looks like deer's head. I didn't make the connection until a year later. We were stupid as fuck then on or something. Doesn't look fully human. We stand there not knowing what to do. Figure in cabin moves the curtain back and disappears. 2 minutes later another curtain opens, this time it's upstairs. Same figure, it stares at us. We're getting nervous about what it's planning on doing but we're too curious to leave. So we just stand there looking at each other for what feels like 10 minutes. Curtain closes and figure disappears again. Now we're getting scared, wondering what it'll do next. We walk back in the woods and hide behind trees while watching the cabin. The cabin door opens. Same figure, with hairy mask. Steps out on the porch, looking for us. Starts walking towards us. Oh shit we Usain Bolt for it back home. Later friend tells us we gotta go back there again. I refuse to go back there without my dad. Story 5. It's a month-ish later. We go back with friend's dad and my dad, so 4 of us. We left the dogs back home because we didn't want them to get hurt. Both dads bought a gun. We lead them to the cabin midday. Dad outright walks up to it, fuck everything else. Knocks on the door, nobody answers so dad starts to body slam the door. It opens, we all go in and search the whole cabin, nobody's there. Finds alcohol, food, gas, all necessities in cabin. Dad debates burning down the cabin cause nobody should be running around terrorizing little kids. Decides against it only because ultimately we're little kids, he can't take our words that seriously. As we leave I look back. It's fucking there, curtain open, deer head, everything, staring at us. I pulled Dad's arm and just point. We all see it. Dad starts walking back to cabin, figure disappears as quickly as it notices us walking back. Cabin door is locked this time. Dad curses and kicks it harder. Dad actually shoots the door handle in desperation. Still doesn't open, fuck it, Dad breaks window and hops in. We all get in, nothing out of place to be found. We can't all be imagining shit, and we surely didn't lock the door when we left. We leave, This time Dad decided we'll spend the night in the cabin at some point later to find this fucker. I'm watching the cabin the whole time. Once again curtains open and the figure is standing there watching us. Still drives me nuts to this day that it can disappear and appear like that. Story 6. A year later Dad still remembers his promise. Makes the preparation to spend a week in the cabin, uses vacation time, everything. He's a determined fucker. Friend, his dad, and the 2 dogs are coming along too. We actually see the figure upstairs as we're walking towards it. We get to the cabin just before dark and knock on the door. Of course we're ignored. Body slam time, breaks open with less effort than last time. We get in, search the whole place, of course nobody's here. Set up camp, water, food, books, guns, etc. We all slept together in the living room for protection. Dad decides him and friend's dad will take turns staying up. We didn't need to bring a lamp and oil, already was here, we light it and use it throughout the night. We told each other ghost stories and shit like that late into the night. Dog started barking in middle of night. Wake up to find lamp burnt out. In the moonlight I could see a figure outside looking in from the window. Freak the fuck out, figure disappears under the window behind the wall. Both dads jolts awake and grabs his gun. Nobody else saw the figure, but this time we're more careful, and all of us shared the watch duty this time. Nothing happened for the rest of the night, but holy shit I was still freaking out that it got so close without alerting us. Next day we cooked our food and ate breakfast. Just pretty much a normal camping experience for rest of the day. We stuck together close though. Friend and I went exploring in the woods with my dog. I was entrusted with a gun. Dad and friend's dad kept the other dog. In the hindsight it was a stupid idea to let us back in the woods like that. If you fear for your child's safety so much that you have to give him a gun, just don't let him go. So we're walking around following trails, just having fun. Dog is kept on the leash though, because in the back of the minds we are both terrified. Maybe some 20 minutes after exploring we find another dead deer without a head. Man, this is getting old, I recall my friend saying. For me it was just more evidence that it's still around. We find some stream and throw rocks into it. I set down the gun against a tree and friend let go of the dog to let it run around as we relax and chat about girls. Eventually we can't ignore the creepy feeling anymore. I get my gun and we call the dog over. It doesn't come back. We nervously walk back to the cabin still calling for the dog the whole time. Dad and friend's dad was sitting around in living room with dog resting in between. When we get back Dad asked if we found anything interesting. No, but now the dog went missing. He just froze for a moment, I don't think he even breathed. Calmly got up and everybody went looking for my dog. Never came back. We kept looking around until just before dark. We went back in the cabin only to find everything thrashed, all of the water gone, all of the gas was gone, all of the food and bullet was thrown around outside of the cabin and stomped into the dirt, the guns themselves were emptied of bullets, our flashlights were destroyed. Bullets are useless, we don't have any food or water or any light. Fuck. We still had a handful of bullets, one gun, and one flashlight that we brought with us when we went looking for the dog. We decide to spend the night in the cabin instead of walking through the woods in the dark with barely any protection. Decide to huddle together again in the living room. This time 2 out of 4 people are on watch duty at all time. Nobody slept well that night, so really all 4 of us were awake half of the time. Whenever someone had to use the bathroom we took the dog and the flashlight with us. Late in the night we could hear footsteps in the basement. Dog perked up its ears and I woke up my friend. Dad grabbed his gun and everyone just listened. Sounds like footsteps just walking around. This continues for maybe an hour before Dad decides to go check it out. None of us want him to go alone. We all huddle around him as he holds the gun and slowly opens the door leading downstairs. Everybody get on the floor. Walks the dinosaur. Just kidding, perfect time for that though. By the time the door creaks open the footsteps have stopped. Dad actually stands at top of the stairs for what feels like a minute before he took another step. He points down the gun, aiming just in case anything wants to jump. All of us step down after him and reach the bottom of the stairs, flashlight searching the whole room. Basement is pretty empty. We checked everything, it's just not there. Impossible for it to pass us on the stairs. Suddenly we hear footsteps upstairs. What the actual fuck? How does it keep disappearing and appearing like that? Dad runs upstairs in rage. We all follow after him, trying to stop him. We see the figure already outside, running away into the woods. Dad takes shots at it, then tries to chase after it once the bullets are gone. That ain't happening, JPG. Friend and I all restrain my dad. Dad finally calms down half an hour later. Everyone stayed awake the rest of the night. When the sun was high enough, we all headed back home without further incidents. The next day Dad and I came back to set the cabin on fire so it had no place to live. Move away a year later. Friend didn't. Still have more to tell. 3 years later I called my friend just to get in touch because we haven't talked to each other in so long. Wasn't long before we started talking about our experience. Friend said he went back a few months after we moved away, said the cabin was still burnt to the ground but something is weird about the cabin. He hesitated to go further. Of course I had to ask what was weird about it. Friend tried to avoid my questions, but I persisted. When he went back, the rubble from the cabin had been rearranged. It now formed a perfect circle of charred pieces around the perimeter of where the cabin stood. Nothing inside this circle except for one solitary thing. Sitting in the middle of the circle was a headless, almost completely decomposed body of an animal. Another deer? I asked my friend. No. He said. Your dog.